Hello and welcome. You're watching Morning Brief at 9. I'm Shweta Kothari. On the show today, we'll bring you latest from the world of stock markets, economy and business as well as policy after this very short break. You're watching Morning Brief at 9. I'm Shweta Kothari. Let's take a quick look at the headlines first. Prime Minister Modi's government's first decision of the new year focuses on enhancing crop insurance and raising fertilizer subsidies to support farmers across India. Equity derivatives turnover drops to a 16-month low in December as regulator tightens curbs on speculative trading and retail participation. And GST collections rise 7.3% year-on-year to 1,77,000 crore rupees in December, with domestic revenue growth of 8.4%, but a month-on-month dip in overall receipts. And RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra urges central bank employees to prioritize customer-centric services amid challenges of 2024 as Indian rupee faces continued pressure. Authorities clarify that GST treatment of vouchers distinguishing between prepaid and non-prepaid categories and their implications for transactions. And Finance Ministry urges public sector banks and insurance companies to speed up grievances resolution, emphasizing on customer satisfaction in review process. And auto sales hit a record high in 2024 at 26.1 million units sold, surpassing the pre-COVID levels and marking a full recovery for the auto sector from pandemic slowdowns. And New Year's Eve celebrations saw record-breaking order volumes on quick commerce platforms as well as food delivery, including Blinkit, Zepto, Swiggy, Instamart, all sharing a real-time milestone and achievements of the night. And Air India introduces in-flight Wi-Fi services on domestic routes, becoming the first Indian carrier to offer internet connectivity on domestic flights. You're watching Morning Brief at 9. I'm Shweta Kothari. Our top story: Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced on Wednesday that the government's first decision of the new year is dedicated to farmers. The Union Cabinet, under the leadership of Prime Minister, increased the allocation for the crop insurance scheme and raised the subsidy for a key fertilizer. Making the announcement on social media platform X, Prime Minister Modi said that the enhanced allocation will provide better security to farmers and crops and ease concerns about potential damage. Now, the cabinet also approved the continuation of the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana and restructured weather-based crop insurance until 25-26 with a total outlay of 69,515 crore rupees. Additionally, a one-time special package for diammonium phosphate fertilizer has also been extended, ensuring that farmers can access it at an affordable price. So the first decision there of the government with respect to farmers in India. But shifting focus now, the average daily turnover in the equity derivatives segment dropped to a 16-month low in December following regulatory measures to curb speculative trading and reduce retail participation. In contrast, cash market turnover, though on a 5-month decline, saw a slight increase of 4.4% month-on-month. The ADTV for the combined BSE and NSE FNO segment reached 280 trillion rupees, down 36.56% from the month of November in the month of December. Now, this marks a major 48% decline from September's levels. Experts attribute this contraction to stricter regulations like larger contract sizes and higher margins, which have impacted speculative trading activity. Remember, this is what the SEBI was hoping to ensure and achieve. It now looks like that amid all the regulatory moves, the derivatives market has contracted in the month of December. And the gross GST collection for the month of December of 2024 also rose by 7.3% year-on-year, totaling to 1,77,000 crore rupees as per data released by government on 1st of January. So 1.77 lakh crore rupees is the total GST collection for the year. The total GST revenue, however, saw a 3% dip compared to previous month. The collection includes 32,836 crore rupees from central GST and 40,499 crore rupees from state GST. About 47,783 crore rupees from integrated or IGST and 11,471 crore rupees from cess. Now, domestic transactions contributed to 1.32 lakh crore rupees, growing by 8.4%, while tax revenue from imports also increased by 4%. So that is as far as GST figures is concerned. In the month of December, growing by about 7.3% year-on-year at 1.7 lakh crore rupees. This, of course, as per data released on 1st of January. The total GST revenue, however, has now seen a dip of 3% compared to previous month in the month of December specifically. Now, shifting focus, in his New Year's message to Reserve Bank of India employees, Governor Sanjay Malhotra stressed on the importance of customer centricity in the year ahead. Now, he urged colleagues to place seamless, user-friendly services at the core of their efforts in 2025. Reflecting on the challenges of 2024, including the Indian rupee's major depreciation, Malhotra acknowledged the hurdles faced by central banks so far. Now, as we move into 2025, he emphasized on the importance of preparing for an exciting yet challenging year ahead, particularly in light of the pressure on Indian rupee. And the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs has now clarified that GST treatment of vouchers, outlining two categories. The first category includes prepaid instruments such as gift cards and digital wallets, which are recognized by Reserve Bank of India. These vouchers are treated as money under the GST framework, meaning that transactions involving them will not be classified as either the supply of goods or services. The second category comprises non-prepaid vouchers, which do not qualify as prepaid instruments. Now, these vouchers serve as claims to receive specific goods or services and fall under the definition of actionable claims, similar to their prepaid counterparts. These transactions also do not count as the supply of goods and services for GST purposes. So, clarification coming in there as far as prepaid vouchers is concerned. Long story short, prepaid vouchers are now exempt from GST on the basis of their definition and their inability to provide any good or services directly. Now, the Finance Ministry has urged public sector banks and insurance companies to speed up the resolution of public grievances. A review meeting chaired by Financial Services Secretary assessed the handling of complaints with the participation of complainants, PSBs, public sector insurance companies, as well as regulators. The review focused on quality of grievances and their redressal, examining about 20 randomly selected cases and resolved by public sector banks and insurance companies. The Secretary emphasized on Prime Minister's directive from Pragati meeting, urging senior officers of the public sector banks as well as insurance companies to personally monitor the resolution of at least 20 complaints every month. So there is a directive now coming in there as far as government is concerned, or Finance Ministry is concerned, to all PSBs and insurance companies to ensure that they personally monitor resolution of complaints every month. Now, vehicle retail sales in India grew by 9% in 2024, reaching a record of nearly 26.1 million units and surpassing the pre-COVID peak of 25.4 million units set in 2018. Now, this marks a final and full recovery for the pandemic-induced slowdown in the auto sector. This milestone follows 2 consecutive years of double-digit growth, with sales climbing from 24 million units in 2023 to now 26 million units as of 2024. Now, industry experts, however, are predicting a subdued 2025, especially as far as passenger vehicle sales is concerned, which is expected to grow in low single-digit. Two-wheeler sales are projected to rise by only 6 to 8%, and tractor sales are anticipated to grow by only 3 to 5% in 2025. Now, commercial vehicle sales, meanwhile, will likely depend really on government infrastructure and government-induced spending on infrastructure in India. Data from Vahan portal of Ministry of Road Transport and Highways show the total new vehicles registration of 24.16 million in 2019, 18 million in 2020, 18.9 million in 21, and about 21.5 million in 2022. Now, this is the data, of course, as far as the last 5 years is concerned. Electric vehicle sales also hit a new high in 2024 with a total of 1.95 million units sold, up from 1.5 million units sold in 2023. EV penetration rose to 7.5% compared to 6.3% in the previous year. And of the 26.1 million vehicles sold in 2024, petrol accounted for 74% and diesel accounted and made up for 10% of all total vehicles sold. So interesting mix there. People are preferring petrol vehicles over diesel vehicles in the year gone by. The outlook remains sluggish for 2025. And the New Year's Eve was a bonanza for quick commerce firms and food delivery platforms, with consumers ordering a record-breaking volume. Several platforms such as Zepto, Blinkit, Swiggy, Instamart actively shared their real-time order statistics on social media. And here's a quick insight. Zomato-backed Blinkit recorded its highest ever daily order volume, as well as the highest number of orders placed per minute and per hour. The platform also saw a record amount of tips given to delivery partners on New Year's Eve. Zepto too witnessed a surge in the number of orders, with Zepto orders going up 200% compared to last year. Swiggy Instamart also hit its highest ever number of orders on 31st of December, double of the previous New Year's Eve sales, and this, of course, as per Swiggy's co-founder on social media. Across all quick commerce platforms, there was a notable increase in orders for party essentials. So what did people really buy? They bought disposable glasses, potato chips, ice cubes, chocolates, tonic water, lemons, nachos, soda, and cold drinks, among other items. So those were some of the favorites as far as New Year's Eve is concerned. And the most number of items sold include disposable glasses, potato chips, ice creams, and chocolates. And this is exactly what India ordered on New Year's Eve. And shifting focus now, Air India will now offer in-flight Wi-Fi services for domestic flyers. Air India on Wednesday said it has rolled out Wi-Fi internet connectivity services on board domestic and some international flights operated by Airbus A350, Boeing 787-9 and select Airbus A321neo aircrafts. The company said it will progressively roll out the services on other aircraft in its fleet over time. Now remember, this makes Air India the first airline to offer in-flight Wi-Fi internet connectivity within India. Wi-Fi services will be complimentary for an introductory period, at least to begin with, and passengers will be able to access in-flight Wi-Fi on Wi-Fi enabled devices, including laptops, tablets, smartphone running iOS or Android services and instruments, and will also be able to connect multiple devices as far as Wi-Fi is concerned. So another feat there for Air India, offering Wi-Fi services for the very first time in the country. And with that, it's time for a short break. We'll be back with market action and stocks that you should be focusing on for the trading day today after this very short break.
CV9E, Mahindra Electric Origin SUVs.
India spends $75 billion on foreign cargo vessels.
$75 billion per annum. That's a lot of money.
Imagine a situation where 95% of our cargo is coming on ships which are not owned by us. If we are still not prepared, if someone were to say that we are not going to give you ships, then we'll be stuck. So the entire nation's economy is at risk.
We are very clear that shipping is also strategic, because without that you can't really be the third largest economy in the world.
This and more. Streaming on News9 plus news is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
From the highlands of Afghanistan to the jungles of Vietnam, the deserts of Africa, to street battles in Mosul, the AK-47 has dominated every conflict. But what if it could be made even better? Enter the SSS Defense P-72, India's answer to the AK-47. So how good is it? Let's find out.
This and more. Streaming on News9 plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
It's not the fiefdom of politicians. They owe it to the people. Matter is now more about faith of the millions of devotees than just political slugfest. Does that mean that I can't get a job in Chennai, although I may be best suited for that particular job? They have more civic sense. They have more of civility than all these men. My name is Sudha Sadanand. Welcome to the South Indian.
We made history for a reason tonight.
Will it change the shape of American foreign policy? Violence has erupted in Manipur once again. How can we pass judgment, sir, before any inquiry that, they were volunteers or militants, sir?
Hello and welcome. You're watching Morning Brief at 9. I'm Shweta Kothari. Let's quickly start this with how markets are opening. The markets have opened in red this morning, setting the tone for the day. Joining me right now is my colleague Suyash, who's here to give us a quick snapshot of how the trading action will kick off for the day and how should people really be trading this morning.
Thank you, Shweta. First of all, a very happy new year to you.
Thank you.
A very happy new year to all the viewers watching this broadcast. And you know, after that initial sort of a dip that we saw in the markets, they have recovered. Remember, the markets have kicked off the new year in the green. Both indices are trading in the positive territory, and remember, the market surged by about 0.5% yesterday, and we are building onto that momentum. As you can see on your screen, Nifty as we speak is up 0.2%, trading just below the 23,800 mark, currently plays at around 23,790 sort of levels. And you know, Shweta, I was looking at the map and the overall recovery that we are seeing in the indices, and look at Nifty. It's currently placed at around 23,790 mark, and the key level that remains for the market, the key first hurdle to take out would be 23,841. Why? Because that's where the 200-day simple moving average lies, and this is nothing but the average prices of the last 200 days. Why is this level important for you and key to track going ahead? This basically level decides what the overall sentiment of the market is looking like. So currently, if we take that out, the sentiment would turn from a bearish position to a bullish position. So a level, if you trade above 200 DMA, market is signaling that it's in an uptrend, and if you are trading below that, the meaning the market is in a downtrend. So 200-day moving average, which is currently at 23,841 mark, remains a key level to take out, and it's a sea of green. Look at the Sensex, it's also up, trading higher above the 78,660 levels. The mid cap and the small cap indices, they have continued to support the market. Remember, 95% of the Indian markets are mid caps and small caps, essentially small caps actually, if you look at it, and both the pockets of the markets are leading the charge. In fact, the mid cap index is on a 3-day gaining streak. Flattish open today, it's currently hovering about 0.1% higher, but overall the sentiment again is looking very bullish. And look at the small cap index, it's been on a 2-day gaining streak, but very strong performance for the market yesterday, especially in the small cap segment, and that pocket of the market is doing pretty well this morning. Also, it's up, it's sort of flattish, but we are seeing wild movements. Remember, the markets have just opened. Small cap index ended about 1% higher yesterday, and overall the setup is looking quite bullish. And look at India VIX. India VIX, remember, has been inching up for the past 3 sessions, and that was, you know, it's a fear gauge. It indicates that the market, if it goes up, it indicates that the market is expecting more volatility ahead in the next few sessions. But India VIX this morning is down about 0.5% at a very manageable levels. We were used to something around a 15 sort of a levels, but we are currently hovering above the 14.4 mark. So actually closer to 14 than we were 15 for the majority of the session. So clearly a good start to the year, Shweta. The market is on a recovery path and it's doing pretty well. It's
absolutely doing pretty well, and I think it's a positive start on the second trading day of the new year. Let's also quickly take a look at some of the sectors which are in focus today, Suyash,
yes.
And what's the performance looking like there?
So Shweta, 3 sectors that I want to highlight. Let's start with the auto pack because that's the big one. December sales number just came out. If you can have those numbers on the screen. Again, auto pack, remember, was the biggest gainer yesterday. It was the driver of the markets and actually led from the front in that recovery that we saw in the mid-morning session. Stocks like Maruti Suzuki ended about 3% higher. Tata Motors was up about 2%, and that pocket of the market in the last 3 months, where Nifty fell about 10% from the peak levels, stocks like Maruti Suzuki fell about 15%. Tata Motors fared even worse, falling about 22%. So the December numbers are out. We are, we are at a 3-month gaining streak as far as sales is concerned. So car sales are showing, good recovery. We have benefited from the festive and the wedding season that was going on in the past quarter, and overall the setup looks really well for the auto pack. And remember, 28% of the entire Nifty basket is comprised of your auto stocks. And I'm looking at the some of the gainers for today, and in fact your Maruti Suzuki and stocks like Tata Motors, they are building up. Remember, again, the stocks have corrected quite significantly over the mark. As you can see on your screen, the auto pack is faring pretty well. Even Mahindra and Mahindra is up about 0.5% or so. Maruti Suzuki is building onto the 3% rally that we saw in in yesterday's trade and in the first trade of the new year. It's building onto that, currently up about 0.64%. Tata Motors is not too far behind, so a good strong momentum is building in the auto pack. And because we have seen a big correction over the past 3 months or so, where stocks have fallen in this basket particularly from 15 to 22%, severely underperforming the Nifty basket on a whole. We can, a lot of scope for the market is there to move higher from these levels. So valuation wise, there is a lot of comfort as far as auto is concerned. Another sector that I want to move on is the financial space. So I was talking about the 200-day moving average. Well, Nifty is still trading below that, which is indicating that we are still in that bearish zone. Nifty Bank has been holding above it for the past 2 sessions, and Nifty Bank again is the biggest constituent when it comes to Nifty basket on the whole. 30% of the weight comes from banking stocks, and in the last 3 months, when the market again Nifty corrected about 10% from the peak, HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank, the bellwethers, they actually rose. HDFC Bank surged by about 3% or so. ICICI Bank also posted modest gains. So they are pretty much holding the fort as far as the major heavyweight sectors are the stocks are concerned. HDFC again is trading on a slightly muted note today. Again, it's down by about 0.18%. So marginally, ICICI Bank is also trading with a slightly negative bias. We are also seeing, but we are seeing good, recovery in stocks like your SBI. As you can see on your screen, it's up 0.11%. Bajaj Finance continues to build on the rally. It's up about 3% this morning. Kotak Mahindra Bank, a laggard, in the past couple of years, is also participating in the rally and building onto the gains. The third sector that we will talk about is the IT pack on the whole, because those are the stocks that are leading from the front. TCS, although is a bellwether stock, remains to be muted. It's down marginally about 0.2%, but Infosys and HCL Tech, they are doing fairly well, and they are helping the market to continue holding the fort as far as this momentum, this positive momentum that we are seeing. So overall, the setup is looking good. The 3 main constituent sectors, Shweta, they are fairly well placed at this moment, especially your banking, auto, and IT pack, and that's about 50% of your Nifty basket. So as long as they continue to do well, I think the market should do all right.
All right, market should do all right. Well, that's the latest that is coming in as far as markets is concerned as of this morning. But what are some of the key stocks to watch out for? Let's quickly take a look. Auto giant Tata Motors and Maruti Suzuki are in the spotlight after they're releasing their December sales and production figures. Here's a breakdown of their performance. Tata Motors. Now, Tata Motors reported a total sales of over 235,000 vehicles in domestic and international market for the third quarter of financial year 24 and 25. This marks a marginal 0.26% increase compared to 234,000 units sold in the same quarter of the previous fiscal year. Now, commercial vehicle sales came in at about 95,000 units, registering a 1% decline year on year. However, passenger vehicle sales showed a modest improvement. We're talking about Tata Motors of 1% year on year, with about 139,829 units sold. Now, this mix of performance across segments reflects Tata Motors' focus on stabilizing its portfolio amid challenges in the market condition. Now, shifting focus to another leading giant in auto, and that is Maruti Suzuki, the leader of the passenger car segment, reported a robust sales figure for the month of December. The company sold about 179,000. Company sold about 178,248 units, representing a significant 30% year-on-year growth compared to 137,551 units in December of 2023. All right, this is as far as Maruti is concerned. The domestic sales rose 24% year on year to 1,32,000 units, while sales of other OEMs doubled to 8,306 units. Exports were also strong, contributing about 39% to 37,419 units sold. The broader-based growth underscores Maruti Suzuki's strong demand across domestic and international market. Another stock to watch out for would be Hero MotoCorp. Now, Hero is facing challenges after receiving an additional tax demand of 26 crore rupees from Income Tax Department for the assessment year 2021. The development comes as the company navigates regulatory and other complexities, focusing on its long-term growth strategy. Now, another pack which is going to be in focus is telecom stocks. The telecom sector is buzzing after TRAI, or Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, reported a 10% year-on-year growth in gross revenue for September of 2024 quarter, totaling 91,426 crore rupees. This growth is largely attributed to mobile service providers raising their tariffs. The revenue surge highlights the sector's resilience and increasing acceptance of higher service cost among consumers, making telecom stocks a key segment to watch out for. Another stock which is in news is Ambuja Cements. It has cleared a significant regulatory hurdle. It has received a no adverse observation letter from BSE and a no objection from NSE for its amalgamation with Adani Cement. The scheme of amalgamation, which was sanctioned by the National Company Law Tribunal on 1st of January 2025, is expected to strengthen Ambuja's market position and streamline its operations under the Adani Group umbrella. Now, on your screens right now is that stock which is in focus as far as Ambuja Cement is concerned. Remember, we're given to understand Ambuja Cement has cleared a significant regulatory hurdle now. It has received a no adverse observation letter from BSC, and the stock there reacting positively to that news. It is up almost 3.4% this morning. Now, that is as far as Ambuja is concerned, but shifting focus now to Reliance Power. A subsidiary Sasan Power has now made a 150 million bullet repayment to IIFCL UK, fulfilling its debt obligation as of 31st of December. The strategic repayment is expected to enhance the company's liquidity position, improving its credit ratings and strengthening its debt recovery metrics. Reliance Power, which has become a zero debt company, also raised about 1,525 crores recently through a preferential issue of equity-linked warrants. These developments signify a stronger financial footing and a clearer path towards growth for the company. Now, Reliance Power, we'll put that up on our screens right now, reacting positively to that news. It is up today almost 1%, 1.7% we can see on our screens right now. So that is good news for Reliance Power. So those are some of the stocks that we will be focusing on. I have to ask you at this point in time, how are the markets positioned, given that markets have reacted positively for the first 2 days of this trading session, at least open in the green. There's a lot of volatility in 2024. What are we making of how markets are positioned, at least in the beginning of this year, Suyash?
Shweta, you are absolutely right. The markets had a rough 2024. Remember, the markets have seen a correction of about 10% from the peak, and the most of that correction came in the last 3 months. In fact, October, November, December, the markets witnessed a crash, and in the past 4 years we have not seen a persistent sort of a crash that has actually been sticky. Every time the market would fall, we would see an immediate recovery, but this time it's been a rough quarter for the Indian markets. And despite that, Nifty is still up by about 9% in 2024, and it has extended its winning streak now. It's on a 9-year winning streak, a feat that no other financial markets can boast. All our global peers have not witnessed that kind of price performance. But the markets, again, they are on a weak footing. The FIIs have been selling, their foreign institutional investors have been selling incessantly, albeit their pace of sell-off has reduced over the course of the last 3 months. I remember back in October, they sold about 1 lakh crore worth of equities. In October, they sold about 45,000 crore worth of equities. In December, that came down to 16,000 crore of equities. So the overall FII sell-off, although they continue to sell from the Indian markets, the quantum of sell-off has reduced, but earning projections for Q3 they are not inspiring much confidence. Expectations are that revenue growth will continue to remain muted, and because commodity prices have shot up, the input cost for these companies will remain high, and that's why margin will remain under pressure. Consumption again remains a big question for the markets. We saw that in GDP numbers. It wasn't just your rural consumption but your urban consumption, both the pockets of the market, Shweta, are lagging, and inflation, the food inflation continues to remain a problem. But overall, we have started the year on a good footing. If we talk about some of the factors that will dictate the market momentum, the market action in the next few days would be one, Donald Trump swearing in ceremony as the 47th US president, which is scheduled to take place on January 2nd. Then we'll have PMI numbers also coming in this week, with both the services and the manufacturing PMI numbers. Remember, a reading above 50 indicates that both services and manufacturing sector is expanding, and a reading below it indicates that both services and manufacturing, the pocket is contracting. Then the December quarter numbers, December quarter has finally wrapped up. We'll soon start having the business updates, especially from the banking pack. And remember, again, this is the biggest pocket of the market. It's a major contributor as far as your heavyweight sector is concerned. Then we also have the Fed meeting in the latter half of the month. So that we'll get to see whether the Fed will go for that, one of the 2 rate cuts that it has promised. Although we were expecting a much broader quantum easing before we had that December meet, but the commentary that is coming from the Fed, the US Federal Reserve, as well as Chair Jerome Powell, is not inspiring much confidence.
Very
and
hawkish.
That was indicating that the markets could remain in a problematic situation.
Absolutely. And then in February, let's not forget the RBI MPC, which will also give us some sort of clarity on where the government is headed, on where the rate cut cycle is headed for India, given that the government has not been very happy with RBI not cutting rates and blaming RBI for the consumption slowdown.
We do have a new governor. Let's see what happens. We do have a new governor, and we'll have to see what happens. But let's take a quick look also at some of the global stories we are tracking on the show today. Tesla Cybertruck explosion outside Trump Hotel in Las Vegas kills 1, injures 7. FBI probes terrorism link. Musk says never seen anything like this. And Texas man crashes into New Orleans crowd, opens fire on police, kills 10 people. FBI investigates terrorism link. And Wall Street slips as investors wrap up a record year boosted by AI and Fed rate cuts. Chinese state-sponsored hackers breach US Treasury systems, exploiting cybersecurity vendor vulnerability. And US military appeals court allows plea deals for 9/11 mastermind and accomplices, overturning defense secretary's decision. US President Zelensky says peace will not be handed to Ukraine as a gift, but US supports, and the support of the US remains crucial amid Russia's 34-month invasion. And oil prices are expected to remain near $70 a barrel mark in 2025 as weak demand for China and rising global supplies overshadow OPEC's efforts. Russian gas supplies to Europe via Ukraine ends, marking the loss for Moscow's dominance in the European market as Ukraine and Russia part ways on transit deal. And revelers across the globe celebrate the arrival of 2025 with spectacular fireworks and vibrant festivities. All those stories and more after this very short break.
P6 Mahindra Electric Origin SUVs.
It's not the fiefdom of politicians. They owe it to the people. Matter is now more about faith of the millions of devotees than just political slugfest. Does that mean that I can't get a job in Chennai, although I may be best suited for that particular job? They have more civic sense, they have more of civility than all these men.
My name is Sudha Sadanand. Welcome to the South Indian.
India spends $75 billion on foreign cargo vessels.
$75 billion per annum. That's a lot of money.
Imagine a situation where 95% of our cargo is coming on ships which are not owned by us. If we are still not prepared, if someone were to say that we are not going to give you ships, then we'll be stuck. So the entire nation's economy is at risk.
We are very clear that shipping is also strategic, because without that you can't really be the third largest economy in the world.
This and more. Streaming on News9 plus news is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Brief at 9. I'm Shweta Kothari. Tragedy struck in Las Vegas as a Tesla Cybertruck exploded outside Trump's International Hotel, leaving one person dead and 7 others injured. Authorities are currently investigating the potential link to an earlier deadly attack in New Orleans, where more than 10 people were killed. Now, Las Vegas police described the explosion as an isolated incident, but federal agents, including the FBI, are currently examining whether terrorism could be the factor. Meanwhile, Tesla CEO Elon Musk has announced that the company's senior team is investigating the unprecedented blast, pledging to share updates as they emerge. The situation remains under scrutiny. And another violent attack in New Orleans in French Quarter left at least 10 people dead and 35 others injured in the US. A 42-year-old man identified by the FBI as Shamsuddin Jabbar from Texas crashed his pickup truck into a crowd celebrating New Year's Day before opening fire on the police. The suspect was killed in a shootout with officers. Now, investigators discovered an ISIS flag, weapons and possible explosives inside the vehicles, and additional devices were also found in the area. The FBI is treating the attack as a potential act of terrorism and is currently investigating any links to a terrorist group. And Wall Street stumbled on Tuesday, wrapping up a landmark year for the markets. The US stock market soared to a record high in 2024, driven by the growth of artificial intelligence and the Federal Reserve's first interest rate cuts in over 3 years. But as the year closed, investors appeared to take a cautious step back. Here's a report.
Wall Street lost ground on Tuesday as investors closed the book on a remarkable year for equities. The U.S. stock market was powered to record highs by the twin engines of the artificial intelligence boom and the U.S. Federal Reserve's first interest rate cuts in 3.5 years. For the last trading session of 2024, the Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped marginally, while the S&P 500 dropped 0.4% and the Nasdaq fell 0.9%. But for the entire year, the Dow advanced 13%, while the S&P jumped 23% and the Nasdaq surged nearly 29%. It is the home of the Magnificent 7 mega-cap technology stocks, which had a solid 2024, led by AI chipmaker NVIDIA, which soared 170%. Other asset classes had a strong year too, including gold, which climbed 27% in price for its best annual performance since 2010. And Bitcoin more than doubled, topping $100,000 at one point. Bonrian Capital Management founder and CEO Sheena Orzik-Sizzle explains why she thinks they had a strong 2024.
Bitcoin is really a risk asset. Actually, crypto in general is what I consider a risk asset. It's a benefactor of the desire to take on risk, as we have had the Fed cutting rates and favorable economic conditions. That's favorable for risk assets. Whereas gold is more of an inflation hedge, as we continue to see that inflation has come down, but not necessarily to the levels that the Fed is targeting. Gold plays an important role in hedging against inflation. So they're actually playing two different roles and complementary in many ways.
She remains positive on both assets for 2025, but favors Bitcoin. Sizzle also sees stocks having another favorable year, but thinks double-digit gains will be hard to reach. Investors are eyeing stretched valuations and uncertainty surrounding tax and tariff policies from the incoming administration of President-elect Donald Trump. And financial markets are now pricing in about 50 basis points of additional interest rate cuts from the Federal Reserve in 2025.
And moving on now, Chinese state-sponsored hackers have struck again, breaching the US Treasury Department's computer security systems and stealing sensitive documents. The Treasury officials described the breach as a major incident in a letter to lawmakers, raising serious concerns about cybersecurity vulnerabilities.
The U.S. Treasury Department said Chinese state-sponsored hackers broke into its systems in early December, according to a letter to lawmakers obtained by Reuters. The Treasury called the breach a major incident, saying department workstations were remotely accessed and documents were stolen. It said the hackers compromised third-party cybersecurity service provider Beyond Trust, gaining access to a key used by the vendor, and were able to retrieve unclassified documents. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning on Tuesday called the claims groundless and lacking evidence. A spokesperson for the Chinese embassy in Washington also rejected any responsibility for the hack. The Treasury Department said it was alerted to the breach by Beyond Trust on December 8th, and that it was working with the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, as well as the FBI, to assess the breach's impact. Treasury officials did not immediately respond to an email seeking further details about the hack.
A U.S. military appeals court has now ruled in favor of proceedings with plea deals for the main accused of mastermind in September 11, 2001 attacks in the U.S., along with two other accomplices. The decision comes after the Defense Secretary's previous attempt to invalidate these agreements.
A plea deal that could let the alleged mastermind of the 9/11 terrorist attacks avoid the death penalty was upheld by a U.S. military appeals court. Earlier this year, 3 men held for decades without trial at the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center reached an agreement with Pentagon prosecutors to plead guilty and possibly avoid the death penalty. The prisoners include Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. He is accused of leading the plot to fly hijacked commercial passenger aircraft into the World Trade Center in New York City and into the Pentagon on September 11, 2001. The 9/11 attacks, as they are known, killed nearly 3,000 people and propelled the U.S. into a 2-decade war in Afghanistan. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin in August rescinded the plea deals. The Pentagon previously said Austin was surprised by the plea deals and that the Secretary was not consulted because that process is independent. But in November, a U.S. military judge ruled that Austin acted too late on revoking the plea deals and that they were still valid. The order late on Monday by the U.S. Military Appeals Court upheld that ruling. The Pentagon did not respond to a request for comment. Mohammed, also known as KSM, is the most widely known inmate at Guantanamo Bay. The prison was set up in 2002 by then U.S. President George W. Bush to detain foreign militant suspects following the September 11th attacks. Human rights experts, including at the United Nations, have condemned torture at Guantanamo Bay and elsewhere during the so-called War on Terror and demanded an apology from Washington. Former President Barack Obama acknowledged in 2014 that the U.S. had engaged in torture and said it was, quote, contrary to our values.
Oil prices are expected to remain under pressure in 2025, likely staying around $70 a barrel mark as weak demand from China and increasing global supplies are anticipated to challenge OPEC's efforts to stabilize the market. According to a report on monthly poll, these factors are expected to overshadow the group's attempts to support oil prices in the coming year.
Oil prices are likely to remain near $70 a barrel in 2025. That's according to a Reuters poll out Tuesday, with economists and analysts citing weak demand from China and rising global supplies. Most of the poll respondents expect the oil market to be in a surplus next year, with analysts from JP Morgan predicting that supply will outpace demand to the tune of 1.2 million barrels per day. OPEC Plus, which pumps about half the world's oil, delayed production increases at its meeting earlier this month and extended supply cuts to account for the expected boost in global output. Markets are also bracing for substantial policy shifts, encompassing tariffs, deregulation, and tax amendments, as Donald Trump is set to return to the White House on January 20th. However, some analysts noted that implementation of intensified sanctions on Iranian oil exports by the Trump administration could offer support to oil prices in the short term. Oil prices were on track to end 2024 with a second consecutive year of losses. Brent crude is down about 3% for the year, near $74 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude is off about 0.5% to about $71 a barrel. In September, Brent futures closed below $70 a barrel for the first time in almost 3 years, as the impacts of a post-pandemic rebound in demand and price shocks from Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine began to fade.
And the highly publicized divorce between Hollywood stars Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt has finally reached a settlement. The settlement brings an end to one of the most contentious and widely followed celebrity splits in the recent times. Remember, the couple had been married for 2 years when Angelina Jolie filed for a divorce. No details of the settlement were immediately revealed.
One of Hollywood's most contentious divorces, spanning 8 years, has reached a settlement. The divorce of actors Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt was announced by her lawyer on Tuesday. The couple had been married for 2 years when she filed for divorce, but the relationship between two of the world's most well-known actors has provided steady fodder for the tabloid media for years.
I'm very excited for Brad, and I think
Jolie's lawyer said in a statement that the actress is, quote, exhausted, but relieved this one part is over. Acting on her behalf, lawyer James Simon said that a divorce settlement has been finalised, signed and filed with the court. No details of the settlement were immediately revealed, and Pitt's representatives did not immediately respond to a Reuters request for comment. Oscar-winning Jolie cited irreconcilable differences in the filing. She subsequently sought full physical custody of their 6 children. The filing triggered a bitter custody dispute, during which Pitt was investigated and cleared of child abuse. Both sides accused each other of trying to manipulate media coverage in their favour. The couple initially reached a custody decision through a private judge, granting equal custody of their children. Jolie was previously married to actors Johnny Lee Miller and Billy Bob Thornton. Pitt was married to actor Jennifer Aniston in 2003, when he and Jolie filmed Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the story of assassins unknowingly assigned to kill each other. There were reports of an affair, but Jolie told Vogue they were only very good friends until Pitt and Aniston split.
And as the clock struck midnight across the world, revelers celebrated the arrival of 2025 with breathtaking fireworks and vibrant festivities. From iconic landmarks to city streets, the new year was ushered in with joy and excitement, marking the end of a memorable 2024. Across major cities from New York to Sydney, spectacular displays lit up the sky, with people gathered to embrace the promise of new beginnings and celebrations across the continents. We leave you with those pictures.
if your money is fraudulently taken by somebody or if cyber scam takes place with you,
क्या हम कृष्णा दास गुप्ता जी से बात कर रहे हैं?
and you report it to the bank within 3 days of the crime, the bank is liable to pay you 100%. This is clear-cut guidelines.
मैं डिपार्टमेंट से बात कर रहा हूँ.
If you report it within 7 days, the bank is liable to pay you 50%, and if you report it 21 days, I think 25% or something.
और हमने ये देखा है कि आपके आधार कार्ड से एक सिम रजिस्टर्ड हुआ है यहाँ.
If the person gives information within the span of 3 to 4 hours, 100% recovery can be done. I personally have seen a lot of cases where 100% recovery has been done.
आपका सिम यूज हुआ है, इलीगल एक्टिविटीज हुई हैं उस सिम से. Oh my God, Madam, you are also involved in the Naresh Goyal money laundering case.
This and more. Streaming on News9 plus news is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Valuations can be frothy. Going public is almost like what some of us would like to say is the holy grail, right? IPOs are a trend, not a bubble.
Do secondary markets exist? Answer is absolutely yes, and it's been around for a very long time.
Valuations could be high or low, and valuations may correct over time, but IPOs are here to stay.